Everyone in old school RuneScape wants to get into PVM. We all want to smash bosses and stack GP, but the truth is, your PVM journey doesn't start with bosses, it starts with your unlocks. In this video, we're taking a step back and going through the upgrades that make everything else easier. Smoother kills, faster progress, and way fewer deaths. And the best part, most of these upgrades are completely free, and the rest are budget friendly from NPC shops. No grand exchange, no 200-hour grinds, just smart rewards from quests, mini-games, and a few bits of content that sometimes get forgotten about. I'm not going to call these essential, you should always prioritise having fun over grinding just because some douchebag YouTuber told you to. But I promise, if you grab these rewards, you'll feel the difference immediately. We'll cover the classics and a few newer upgrades in the order you'll naturally unlock them as your account progresses. If you've already got a few, great. You'll probably find one or two worth doubling back for. Or maybe you'll spot a goal in your future to work towards that's going to help take your PVM to the next level. First up is a super easy, super cheap armor set, Proselyte Armour. You'll unlock this after the Slug Menace quest, and you can buy it from Certificasheen for around 20k GP. That's barely more than a super restore potion in today's economy for a full helmet, chest and legs. Inflation is a bitch. If you already know about this set, you know what's up. But if not, you're probably wondering how a 20k armor set can be so cracked that it's made it onto this list. At face value, its defensive stats are about the same as full adamant, nothing special. Forget about any defensive or even offensive bonuses though. The reason Proselyte is top tier is because of its massive prayer bonus. Those weak defensive stats don't matter when you can block 100% of incoming damage with protection prayers and keep them up for way longer than normal. If you don't know why prayer bonus is so useful, it basically extends how long you can keep your prayers active for before your points drain out. That's insanely useful for most early and mid-game PVM. Think Slayer tasks, early bosses like King Black Dragon, Giant Mole, or even the Wilderness bosses. You'll use this armor all the way into the end game, sometimes even when using magic. Ice barraging in full plate armor sounds insane, but it's the meta for efficient Slayer training. It's actually the second best prayer armor in the entire game, only beaten by the Sunfire Fanatic set. And let's be real, that set looks flippin' gross, so just give it a miss. Proselyte is ridiculous. For 20k and a couple of easy quests, you would be a moron to pass this up. Next up is a certified classic mid-game grind, the Barrows Gloves. You unlock these after finishing Recipe for Disaster, and you can buy them from the Culinaromancer's chest for about 130k. For a lot of players, this is the first truly endgame viable item you'll ever earn. These gloves hold up in basically every piece of content, all the way to max. They're only a tier or two below best in slot for all three combat styles. That is insane value for 130k. For melee, they're only beaten by Ferocious Gloves, which cost 12 mil for the Hydra leather, and you literally need Barrows Gloves to make them. For range, the upgrade would be Zarite Vambraces, a casual 85 mil by the way, probably more than the average mid-game player's entire bank. And for magic, you can go for a Tormented Bracelet around 18 mil, or the new Confliction Gauntlets for 105 mil. What a bargain. So yeah, 130k for something that performs almost as well as those, absolute no-brainer. You don't need to break the bank to have good enough gear for most of the content in this game. It's not just about price though, it's about flexibility. Because Barrows Gloves are nearly top tier for every style, you don't always need to bring glove slot switches to content that requires more than one combat style. That means more inventory space for food and potions, faster switches, and more time actually hitting the boss instead of faffing around in your inventory. I said you'd be a moron to skip Proselyte, and honestly, YouTube will demonetize me if I tell you what I really think of anyone who skips the Barrows Gloves grind. Alright, we'll mix it up a bit. This one's not an item. It's three huge unlocks rolled into one. The Ancient, Lunar, and Arceus Spellbooks. Let's start with Ancients. You unlock these after Desert Treasure, and they're a massive upgrade for both PvP and PvM. There are three big reasons to unlock them. Blood spells for passive healing mid-fight, perfect for Slayer or long boss runs. Ice spells for freezing enemies in place, crazy useful in PvP and solid in a lot of PvM encounters. Burst and barrage spells which hit multiple targets at once, turning multi-combat areas into an absolute war zone. They are objectively the coolest spells in the game. Next, the Lunar Spellbook. It is a bit niche, skilling stuff like baking pies and making bowstrings, great fun if you hate yourself. But what we're really here for is Vengeance. Big, satisfying recall damage that makes tanking hits feel less awful. It's basically RuneScape's Uno reverse card, although, unlike Uno, it won't result in a beloved family member punching you at Christmas. Finally, the Arceus Spellbook. The two highlights here are Demonbane spells and Thralls. Demonbane absolutely shreds demons, no way, which after recent updates feel like half the bosses in the game. Thralls are basically old school RuneScape's version of RS3 combat summoning familiars, but way more simple and way less cringe. You summon a little ghost buddy that adds 3 DPS during fights at the cost of a few runes and prayer points, and over time, that extra damage really stacks up. These are a favourite of the mega sweats really grinding out endgame content. So yeah, unlocking all 3 spellbooks give you a ton of options for pretty much any PvM or PvP situation. If you don't have these, you should probably get questing. This next one's a bit niche, but in situations where it shines, it absolutely slaps. I'm talking about the Salve Amulet and its enchanted and imbued variants. The normal Salve Amulet boosts your melee attack and strength by 16.67% against undead enemies, and you get it after completing the Haunted Mine. Enchant it after finishing the Lair of Tarn Rizalor, and that boost jumps to 20%. That's solid on its own, but once you imbue it through Nightmare Zone or Solver's reward points, the buff transfers to ranged and magic as well. This thing is insanely useful on a lot of Slayer tasks, everything from regular skeletons and zombies to high level monsters like Aberrant Spectres. Faster Slayer tasks means more XP and more loot. There's a ton of good content locked behind high level Slayer, so this really pays off. It also shines at a few boss encounters. Vorkarth, unlocked after Dragon Slayer 2, is a particularly lucrative mid-game boss. I cover her more in my dedicated guides and my best moneymakers video, so check those out if you want the full breakdown. And yes, it's useful too in objectively the best raid in the game, the Theatre of Blood. You'll only wear it whilst fighting the Pestilent Bloat, and honestly, you won't want to bring the full imbued version here since you'll be in full melee gear. It seems niche, but it's a vital mid-game tool, and if you're being sensible working towards your quest cape, you'll pick it up naturally along the way. Next up, Ava's devices. You unlock these after Animal Magnetism, and you can upgrade them after Dragon Slayer 2 using the Vorkarth head. This is going to be your range cape for pretty much the entire game. It's got 3 variants, but the top version is almost the best in slot range cape, only beaten by Designer's Quiver from the Fortis Colosseum. And honestly, if you're beating the Colosseum, fair play, you could probably teach me a thing or two. I'm over 100 deaths into that grind myself, streaming it on Twitch, so check me out. The Assembler, made by upgrading Ava's accumulator with the Vorkarth head, is particularly nasty because it gives a solid range strength bonus, which increases your max hits. Max hits are generally way more important than accuracy, unless you're fighting monsters with a crazy high defense level. And all 3 variants return most of your ammunition to you, massively cutting down on the cost of training ranged. If you show up to a raid forgetting your Ava's device and I'm in your party, you best believe I'll be hoovering up all of your expensive ammo. Sorry, Iron Men. We've got another 3-in-1 here. We talked about spellbooks, now let's talk about prayers. Arguably just as important, but for very different reasons. Spellbooks give you extra utility and options. Prayers, they're either on or off, and when they're on, they're boosting your raw DPS and survivability like crazy. There are 3 major mid-game untradeable prayers you want: Piety, Mystic Vigor, and Deadeye. Piety comes from the Knight's Waves minigames after completing King's Ransom. It requires 70 prayer. Unlocking it is basically free. You also get Chivalry at the same time, but honestly, we don't talk about Chivalry. Piety is a massive DPS boost for melee, raising your defense by 25%, attack by 20%, and strength by 23%. Next up are Mystic Vigor and Deadeye. These are unlocked via prayer scrolls dropped by the Royal Titans, a mid-game duo boss. Drops are rare but absolutely worth it, and you might even make a little GP along the way. Mystic Vigor requires 63 prayer, it boosts magic attack and magic defense by 18%, magic damage by 3%, and non-magic defense by 5%. Deadeye requires 62 prayer, boosting range attack and strength by 18%, and defense by 5%. These prayers are absolute DPS monsters. Unlocking them will give you bigger upgrades than most weapons and armor you can pick up in the mid-game. If you've got cash to burn or you love cocks, you can grab the upgraded prayers for Rigor and Augury. These are even rarer and from much harder content, but they are tradable and very pricey. Save them when you've got a big enough bank to handle it. Just a quick reminder that liking and subscribing massively helps out the channel and helps me get all of this stuff to the people who need to see it. Thanks! This one probably needs no introduction, the Fire Cape. You unlock it by defeating Tuztok Jad at the end of the Fight Caves. If you're brand new to old school RuneScape, or you've been living under a rock for the past 20 years, here's the gist. The Fight Caves is a wave-based mini-game. You'll take on 56 waves of enemies, culminating in a boss fight with Jad. And here's the catch, you have to survive all 56 waves without dying to earn the Fire Cape. Like others devised for ranged, the Fire Cape is basically your melee cape slot for most of the mid game. The only real upgrade is the Infernal Cape, but like the Colosseum, the Inferno demands an absolute Chad level of gaming ability and it's an endgame goal, so we're skipping it here. Outside of the Infernal Cape, the Fire Cape is going to be the best melee cape for almost everything. Technically, the Myths Cape edges it out for Crush specific content, but that's super niche and the improvement is marginal. I could go on about all of the combat benefits, but let's be real, if you're still rocking that obby cape, you don't want your boys thinking you're a pleb, just go and get the fight caves done. Watch a solid guide, preferably one made by your favourite up-and-coming content creator, and just send it. If you struggle, jump into my bootcamp Discord server linked in the description. We'll make sure you get the tips and tricks you need to get through it. You're probably no stranger to clapping demon cheeks with the Demonbane spells from the Arceus spellbook, but this upgrade is next level. We're talking about Arclight. You start with Silverlight from Knight's Sword, then upgrade to Darklight through Shadows of the Storm. Then grab yourself a Slayer task and head down to the Catacombs of Kourend. You'll need to kill lots of monsters. All the monsters here drop ancient shards. Once you've got 3, head to the altar in the middle of the catacombs and slam those shards into your Darklight and boom, Arclight is unlocked. It comes preloaded with 1000 charges and each shard you add after gives you another 333 hits. Once you've burned through 10,000 charges total, it becomes infused, meaning it never needs charging again. Now, let's be real, with the level 75 attack requirement, the raw stats on Arclight are pretty trash. Here's the good news though, against demons, it gets a 70% damage and accuracy boost. It is the only choice for anything demon adjacent. Tormented Demons, cracked. Yama, cracked. Duke Succulus, cracked. Skotizo, don't even get me started. As well as doing extra damage, it makes half of the mechanics you have to deal with way easier. If demons are on the menu, Arclight's the weapon you bring. And down the line, you'll actually need it to craft Emberlight, the best in slot Demonbane melee weapon, made with a Tormented Synapse. So yeah, Darklight might have started as a crappy little crest reward, but Arclight is one hell of a glow up. We have gone hard on the top tier backslot items in this video. The Imbued God Cloaks from Mage Arena 2 are hands down the best magic cape in old school RuneScape, and most players wait until way later than they probably should to get one. They are super easy to get, the only requirement is 75 magic. Here's why it's so good, a normal God Cape from Mage Arena 1 gives plus 0% magic damage, it's basically useless. But when you complete Mage Arena 2 and imbue it, that jumps to 2%. That 2% difference might sound small, but remember, anything percentage based is more impactful the higher your max hit. To get it, you'll need the original God Cape from Mage Arena 1. That's the easy part. You just need to kill a bunch of wizards with God spells in the Mage Arena, then do a super easy boss fight against Collodion. After this, the real fun starts. Mage Arena 2 will have you running all over the Deep Wildy. You have to track down and kill 3 God-aligned boss monsters, carry in the corresponding God Staff and Cloak, and then bring their special drops back without getting clapped by PKers. The fights themselves are easy. The real boss fight is the 13-year-old in Max Void sitting in single-way combat waiting for your white dot to appear on their minimap so they can ruin your day. Go in with cheap items, use protect item and bring teleports, get ready to dip if you have to. Once you hand those drops back at the Mage Arena, you'll unlock the Imbue, and that's it. Permanent best in slot magic cape. There's no excuse. If you've got 75 magic, you should be rocking this cape. It's one of the easiest, strongest and freest upgrades in the entire mid-game. This next one's a new one. This weapon is unreal, especially considering it's a free reward from a quest. I'm talking about the Arkan Blade, unlocked from the Varlamore questline finale, The Final Dawn. Requiring level 60 attack, its stats are pretty similar to a Dragon Scimitar, but it's got some extra stab bonus to make it way more versatile. It's the perfect weapon to get started with if you want to get into raiding Tombs of Amascut. That's pretty cool, I guess. But the real thing to be hyped about with the Arkan Blade is the spec. It's pretty much a Void Waker Jr. The special attack, Flames of Ralos, costs 30% of your special attack energy. The special attack smacks for a super accurate and damage boosted hit, with 50% increased accuracy and damage. It also sets a burn on the target, dealing 10 damage over the next 24 seconds. What makes this super powerful is the way the burn effect stacked with each use. For example, using the special attack 3 times will have the victim burning for 3 damage at a time. That is a mad DPS for absolutely free. If you lose it in the wieldy, it's only going to cost you 250k to replace, making it a half decent anti-PKing weapon to scare off the douchebags trying to kill you at the Chaos Altar. It's also my favourite looking weapon in the entire game, so definitely pick one up. The Imbued Slayer Helmet is one of those items that quietly becomes a must-have the more you get into bossing. It's not flashy, but once you've got one, you'll wonder why you didn't do it sooner. To start off, you'll need 35 Slayer and 400 Slayer reward points to unlock the Malevolent Masquerade ability from any Slayer Master. A normal Slayer Helm is made by combining a black mask, face mask, nose peg, earmuffs and spiny helmet. If you're a main account, don't bother farming the black mask yourself, just grab one off the Grand Exchange. Cave Horrors drop them, but there's no reason to spend hours grinding when you can pick one up for a few 100k. The rest of the stuff you can grab from any Slayer Master. What it does is simple but strong. Whilst on a Slayer task, it gives a 16.67% extra accuracy and damage increase for melee. That's a huge boost for something that sits in your head slot. The next step is imbuing it. This is what makes it endgame viable. Take it to the Nightmare Zone or Soul Wars and use points to imbue it. After that, the damage and accuracy bonus applies to ranged and magic as well, not just melee. It is a massive boost on task, and it frees up space since it combines all of the Slayer gear effects into one item. There are plenty of bosses that you can kill on Slayer task, making it a super useful tool when trying to learn a boss with a little boost. I always love doing a Jad task whenever I get one. Running the fight case for that juicy Slayer XP is always fun. So to recap, unlock the ability from a Slayer Master, buy all the stuff, make the Slayer Helm and imbue it at NMZ or Soul Wars. It's simple, it's powerful, and it's one of the biggest raw DPS upgrades that you can get whilst on a Slayer task. Alright, if you've seen my older video where I told you to skip this grind, go ahead and kick me in the balls if you see me at RuneFest. Void Knight Armour and Elite Void have been hyped by the sweaty PVM elite for years as essential, and I've always pushed back. Mostly because, let's be honest, the grind is boring. But there's two bits of content that I've been loving recently, the Doom of Mokotl and the Theatre of Blood. These two bits of content alone make this gear worth the time. Let's talk about why. At Doom, it's best in slot until you can spare over a bill on a Twisted Bow and Full Masori. It also makes your death costs basically free, and trust me, when you're learning one of the toughest bosses in the game and you're dying a lot, that is a massive win. Ask me how I know. And in Theatre of Blood, Void makes gear switching easier and saves inventory space, meaning more food and more potions for more consistent runs. You might not realise how much of a difference it actually makes until you try it. Void ranged is actually best in slot here. So, how do you get it? You need to play Pest Control, a minigame on the Void Knight's outpost. You queue up with other players to defend a central Void Knight whilst destroying enemy portals. It's easy to learn, and you'll rack up Void Knight commendation points each round depending on your performance and boat tier. The armour costs a total of 1250 points for the full set. 250 for the torso, 250 for the legs, 200 for each helm, you can get one or all three, and 150 points for their gloves. Once you've got the base set, you can upgrade to Elite Void after completing the Western Province's Hard Diary, and then speaking to the Void Knight at Pest Control with 200 extra points per piece. That upgrade gives you a nice 2.5% damage and accuracy boost for ranged and magic. It doesn't sound like much, but it absolutely adds up. Yeah, the grind's not fun. Pest Control can feel like Groundhog Day, but it's a good group activity to throw on a podcast or stream and chill with. And for how strong Elite Void performs in the game's top tier PvM content, it is worth suffering through. So yeah, I take it back, Void is not dead. Now, obviously, this doesn't cover everything, and that's on purpose. Telling you to just go and complete the game would end up with you spinning your wheels and getting nothing done. There are plenty of other solo unlocks worth chasing. We've just scratched the surface. These are the ones I personally recommend to prioritise with the state of the game right now. The items that make your account feel better to play and set you up for everything else that's coming as you get deep into the PvM grinds and break out of the mid-game. Once you've got these, you're ready to start taking on the big leagues. So, what did I miss? Drop your must-have unlocks in the comments. I guarantee I'll see a few that haven't made it on this list. And if you found this useful, or just want to help boost me in the algorithm to share this knowledge with as many players as possible, you know what to do. Drop me a like, subscribe to the channel to catch more from me, and if you're feeling extra generous, you can join as a channel member. The bonuses you get aren't particularly exciting, but your support is massively appreciated. Big shout out to all of the current channel members and Twitch subscribers. On YouTube, we've got Omega0240, Matt J, Bad Trip World, Paul Cisneros, Jackson97, Papa Indigo, Vendak Cole, Jizomni, Stanley Tubrick, Phone Wifey, and this symbol. On Twitch, we've got Keijo Costo, Jizomni, Matt3139, Quisitor, Raw, Rotating Phaser, DNA Dinny 11, Drunken Sailor, Larry with a V, Mr. Ryo, Ye O'Connor, Unbuckled Kilt, Waffles 1G, Crookaducus, Revens 2424, A Beefed Mouse, Picky Waffle 4, Mitchell with a 7, Omega 0240, OTP 1878, Tigol Bitties, Scuba 3, PJ Fry 8338, Inquisitor Arse, Bud Code, Poatas, Forseer, White Lotus, Man Lanters, Iron Antoine, Go Dirt, Hapler, Gold Rocket Gamers, Exixil, Snackins, JRP97, Big Redness, Buddy V, Tron _ Jeremy, Discovery, Sunglasses Killer, Pandaman12347, and Keniko. That's it from me. Thanks for sticking around. I'll see you next time.